The purpose of this video is to demonstrate how to learn major keys of music by referencing their parallel lettered sequence. So this is about parallel lettered keys. Now, parallel lettered keys is not to be confused with a parallel key. A parallel key is a major and a minor key that share the same tonic note. Now, here's an example of two parallel keys. Here we have C major, where we have C, D, E, F, G, A, B, and then we have C minor, where we have C, D, E flat, F, G, A flat, B flat, C. So the parallel minor key of C major is C minor and vice versa. Now, some musicians refer to scale tones with double letters, or they skip letters, or they do both. And they may do this verbally, or they just may do this in their head. And there's nothing wrong with this if you've already learned the correct way to refer to the notes in the key. But if you're communicating with someone, or if you're just trying to learn your major keys, it can be confusing. And this is what usually happens. They'll refer to this note and they'll say, here we're starting with C sharp, and then we have E flat, and then we have F and F sharp and G sharp and B flat and C. And like I said, there's nothing wrong with breaking the rules if you already understand the concept of major keys of music. But if you're trying to learn keys of music, or if you're not quite sure, then this sort of thing will confuse you. Now, here's 4 facts about keys of music that will help you to remember and retain the notes, or the sequence of notes that are in major keys. Here, the first 7 letters of the alphabet must be present in every key. So you have A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. Some major keys start on A, some start on B, some C, some have sharps, some have flats, some have none. But those 7 letters have to be present in every major key. They must follow an alphabetical sequence. So if you start on A, you have to proceed on with B, C, D, E, and so on. If you start on B, you have to proceed on with C, D, E, F, and it's pretty self-explanatory. It's pretty simple to understand. No lettered note can be repeated. So I can't have an F and then be, proceeding on through the key and then refer to the next note as F sharp, right? Because that gives me 2 Fs. So you can only have a lettered note one time without repeating it. Sharps and flats cannot be mixed together. If I start out like I did just a second ago and I said, here we have C sharp, and then I jump to E flat, well, I'm mixing those 2 tones. I'm mixing sharps and flats together in a key. So really, you can't really do that because that will confuse you. Now, getting back to parallel keys, every parallel key qualifies as a parallel lettered key because they have the same lettered sequence, but not every parallel lettered key really qualifies as a parallel key because parallel keys come in major and minor parts. So parallel keys are more common to discuss, so I'm not really including those. I'm just including major keys of music that have the parallel lettered sequence. Okay. So here we have an example of a parallel lettered key. Here we have C major and C sharp major. So C major, as we just discussed earlier, C, D, E, F, G, A, B. And then here we have C sharp major. Now it's the same lettered sequence, even though the notes are different. C sharp, D sharp, E sharp, F sharp, G sharp, A sharp, B sharp, and then back to C sharp again. Well, this looks like an F, but it's an E sharp. And this looks like a C, but it's a B sharp. So here we have 2 different keys that are worlds apart, but they have this in common, where they have this same lettered sequence. So that's an important thing to point out, is that you have these 2 keys. One of them you have no sharps, and then the other one you have all sharps. Every tone in this key is sharped. And if you can understand that, you can understand the sequence of the notes. You just have to know which tones are sharp. So here is C major and C flat major. So C major being the same key as we had before, but here is the parallel lettered counterpart to C major, or one of them, because C major, actually C has 3. We have C major, C sharp major, C flat major. So C flat major, we have C flat, D flat, E flat, F flat, G flat, A flat, B flat, back to C flat. Well, this looks like a B, but actually it's a C flat. This looks like an E, but it's an F flat. This is all about context. Another side note that I want to mention, C is the only key where you have these, as I just mentioned, that you have these three parallel lettered keys. And the reason that this happens is around the circle of fifths, as you move clockwise around the circle of fifths, you start accumulating keys with sharps. And if you move counterclockwise, you start accumulating keys, or you start moving through keys that are accumulating flats. And when you get to the bottom, they overlap with one another. And so you will end up with three pairs of major keys that have the same exact notes, but one has sharps and one has flats in them. So it just so happens there's, the letter sequence of C, we have three of those, but the rest of the keys you only have pairs, just have two. Here's D major and D flat major. Now, notice these two keys. Here we have these five notes, D, E, G, A, B. They're all natural notes. And then we have F sharp and we have C sharp. Then we have D flat major, where we have these five flats, D flat, E flat, G flat, A flat, B flat. And then the natural tones are F and C. These two keys, as with any other parallel lettered keys, are inverses of one another. Where you have sharps here, you have natural notes here. And where you have natural notes here, you have flats here. So these two keys seem worlds apart, but this similarity of having these lettered notes brings them together. So without breaking down the rest of the parallel lettered keys, here they are at a glance. And again, we may be worlds apart in respects to flat, sharps, and white and black keys, but the commonality of the lettered notes and the lettered sequence makes them easier to compare and ultimately learn and remember. So here we have E and E flat, F, F sharp, G, G flat, B, B flat, A, and A flat. Each one of those pairs has the same order of lettered tones. Something to take note of is that we have A and we have A flat, but we don't have A sharp. We don't have keys such as A sharp because those are theoretical keys. And if you had those theoretical keys, they would end up having double sharps or double flats, whatever the case may be. And theoretical keys are not very useful in contemporary music. And in fact, they're not very useful in Western music at all, but I just wanted to point that out. So these keys of music have the same lettered sequence. So I want you to explore those on your own and make the discovery of these other parallel lettered keys. If you want to learn how to instantly know what sharps or flats are in any of these major keys that we talked about, click the link in the description and I'll send you this free instructional guide. And you can also click the video that's in the description and watch the video on key signatures. Understanding this helps you not to get confused when you're trying to learn and retain the notes that are in major keys of music. That's parallel major keys. Until next time, go play.